Ronan the Accuser returns to challenge the Fantastic Four, so the heroes converge to fight him. Despite his best efforts, he gets taken down easily by the heroes who don't even put in much effort. Humiliated, he is forced to retreat. Still desperate, Ronan seeks out the Grandmaster and kneels before him. He pleads his case, demanding another opportunity to vanquish the Fantastic Four. Amused, the Grandmaster accepts and tells him to arrange for a contest of champions. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Johnny, who is in the middle of being pranked by Ben and Reed, wakes up one morning to see it completely flooded with water. Before taking action, he gets teleported with the rest of the heroes to a huge game board suspended in the sky. While the Fantastic Four try to make sense of what just happened, the Grandmaster appears to them and announces that they will be participating in a contest of champions. He reveals that they have been challenged by Ronan, who immediately appears at the venue as well. The Fantastic Four get confused because the last time they fought, he was the one who ran away with his tail between his legs. Ronan starts to yap about how he's going to take his time annihilating them, but the Grandmaster shuts him up, telling him they would be participating in a different kind of contest. He reveals that the contest will entail a series of matches fought under his chosen terms, and that it's going to be a team battle. Suddenly, 3 powerful-looking villains appear at the venue. They are identified as Annihilus of the Negative Zone, the Super Skrull, and Mole Man, who is immediately substituted with Impossible Man, the chaotic shapeshifter. Still confused, Reed asks the Grandmaster if they have the luxury to forfeit the challenge. The Grandmaster responds that if any team forfeits, not only will they be wiped away from existence, but their entire species will be annihilated as well. The Fantastic Four then realize that the fate of humanity rests upon their shoulders. The Grandmaster adds that the winner of the contest will receive one wish granted by the Elders of the Universe. Seeing that they have no other choice, the Fantastic Four agrees to the contest. The exhibition round begins, and they're all transported to different locations, each paired with an opponent. Invisible Woman and Annihilus find themselves in the middle of the busy streets back on Earth. The Grandmaster appears to them and reveals that to win, they have to do their best to survive against some dangerous creatures while they make it to the finish line. The creatures suddenly start to attack, so they are both forced to get on the move. Although Annihilus tries to attack Sue on the way, she makes it to the finish line before him. They get transported back to the game board. Meanwhile, Ben is paired against Impossible Man on a deserted island, and around them are bowls containing disgusting sea creatures that are clearly still alive. The Grandmaster appears to them and reveals that the winner would be the person who eats more of the creatures. Ben gets disgusted, but given that he cannot afford to put humanity at risk, he starts to eat. However, the shapeshifter transforms into a huge monster and eats most of the disgusting food at once. They're both transported back to the game board as well. Johnny, on the other hand, finds himself paired against the Super Skrull. The challenge equips both of them with hoverboards and a set of ancient weapons, with the clear objective being to knock the other out of the contest. Confident as ever, Johnny wastes no time showing off his skills, and although Super Skrull puts up a decent fight, Johnny overwhelms him, and within moments, bags the W. Their match ends with both competitors being teleported back to safety, Johnny victorious and grinning at his success. Meanwhile, Reed is assigned to Ronan on a treacherous seashore battlefield. This contest isn't about direct combat, but rather survival, as the task is to avoid detection from one of the massive sea monsters lurking nearby. Thinking fast, Reed stretches and reshapes his body into the form of a plain, harmless pole, blending in with the environment to escape notice. But Ronan immediately grabs him and throws him directly into the creature's path, leaving him no chance of escape. Reed is swiftly defeated, and with that, the exhibition matches come to an end. With the warm-up concluded, the real contest officially begins with Reed's first opponent being the unpredictable Impossible Man. The rules are simple yet bizarre. Each contestant must transform into whatever object the Grandmaster names. Reed stretches and contorts his elastic body into different shapes on command, while Impossible Man effortlessly matches him by transforming as well. Eventually, the Grandmaster calls out an object for Reed. But when he completes the transformation, the result doesn't meet the Grandmaster's expectations. Without hesitation, the Grandmaster declares Impossible Man the winner and promptly seals Reed inside the trophy case, much to the team's dismay. Sue is chosen to play hide-and-seek with Ronan on an alien planet teeming with shapeshifters that copy both of their appearances. Sue carefully scans the crowd, trying to separate illusion from reality, but the sheer numbers overwhelm her. Ronan locates her easily, and Sue is equally transformed into another frozen figure in the collection, leaving only Ben and Johnny free. For the next contest, Ben and Super Skrull are made to compete against each other in a scooter race staged back on Earth. Super Skrull tries his best, but Ben wins the race. Johnny's next challenge is against Annihilus, and the Grandmaster decides their trial will be nothing more than a spelling bee. Even though they're both idiots, Johnny still managed to win, proving how dumb the Annihilus species is. Back in the game arena, Johnny and Ben rush to free their teammates from the trophy case, but the Grandmaster quickly intervenes and stops them without much effort. To keep the games going, he pits Ben against Impossible Man in a staring contest. The match doesn't prove much of a challenge as Ben easily outlasts his opponent and claims victory. Next, it's Johnny's turn, and with his usual confidence, he tells the Grandmaster he's ready for whatever kind of game he has in store for him. The Grandmaster then sets him up to face Ronan in a water ball contest held over the sea. The rules are simple. Whoever gets struck by the opponent's water ball first is the loser. Despite his natural fear of water, Johnny manages to keep his cool, dodging attacks and even coming close to defeating Ronan. Unfortunately, interference comes from the Kree Empire, who subtly alter the setup of the game. The change causes Johnny to stumble and fall into the water, giving Ronan the perfect opportunity to land a direct hit. With that, Johnny is immediately disqualified. Furious, he tries to argue that Ronan cheated, but the Grandmaster brushes off his protests and locks him inside the trophy case with the others. From inside, Sue attempts to use her invisibility powers to distract the Grandmaster and force him to release them, but he counters her efforts with ease. The final battle between Ben and Ronan begins, and this time they're required to beat the shit out of each other and win like a normal fight. Ronan calls on a Kree ship orbiting above and draws its beam to amplify his strength, causing him to grow in size. The Grandmaster purposefully allows it and refuses to intervene while Ronan jumps Ben. At some point, Ben snaps back and starts to overpower the mutated Ronan, but it only makes him draw more power. At this point, he's about 20 times Ben's size, so knocking him out is a piece of cake. Regardless, Ben refuses to quit, even though the rest of the heroes beg him to. The Grandmaster watches closely, intrigued by Ben's refusal to quit. Ronan prepares to land a final blow, but the Elder raises his hand and halts the fight. Suddenly, the two contestants find themselves in space before the Grandmaster, where he announces Ben as the victor. He reveals that Ronan's reliance on dishonorable tactics disqualifies him, while Ben's courage and unwillingness to yield prove him to be the true champion. The Grandmaster offers Ben a single wish as his reward, expecting him to wish to be human once more, but Ben surprises him as he immediately demands that all of the trophies be released and restored to their worlds. Although unsatisfied with his request, the Grandmaster is forced to abide by his words. The heroes are returned to Earth, and the villains are sent back to their domains. Sue, Reed, and Johnny show their gratitude to Ben for not only saving them, but also for preserving their race as well. One day in New York City, the Fantastic Four find themselves facing off against a massive robot tearing through the streets, and it quickly becomes clear that the machine was sent by Dr. Doom. The team jumps into action, but in the middle of the fight, Ben and Johnny slip into their usual routine of trading insults and cracking jokes about each other's mothers until things get physical. Sue steps in before it goes too far, reminding them to focus on the actual threat, but the fight with the robot gets more complicated when it begins adapting to their attacks, learning from their moves and countering them in ways that throw the team off balance. Reed, fascinated by the way the robot is processing information, urges the others not to destroy it but to capture it instead, convinced that its technology is far too valuable valuable to waste. Back at the Baxter Building, Reed begins examining the robot and is thrilled to discover that it possesses not just incredible adaptive programming, but also the ability to speak. It repeats its programmed lines about wanting to destroy the Fantastic Four, but Reed is more intrigued than alarmed, calling it more advanced and intelligent than Herbie. Hearing this, Herbie gets jealous and sulks, shutting down into hibernation mode out of spite, leaving the team to deal with Reed's new toy. Meanwhile, Doom monitors the situation from his lair, watching through the Doombot systems, but when he tries to reassert control, the machine rejects his commands. Instead of being Doom's pawn, the robot remains with the Fantastic Four, forcing Doom to watch in frustration as his enemies take in the creation he had designed to destroy them. While Reed studies it, Ben takes a different approach and begins trying to bond with it, teaching it house chores, simple games, and even setting up pranks to play on Johnny when he isn't around. Despite Ben's best efforts and the moments of comedy that come from his robot training sessions, the Doombot's underlying programming still pushes it toward destruction, reminding everyone that its true purpose hasn't changed. After days of repeated attempts, Doom finally succeeds in breaking through and hacking back into the robot's systems, this time managing to establish full control. He immediately programs direct orders for the Doombot, commanding it to capture the Fantastic Four. The machine responds immediately, launching into action, but in the chaos that follows, it only manages to grab hold of Reed and Sue before taking off, leaving Johnny and Ben behind. The two, who had been far too absorbed in their constant bickering to notice their teammates get zapped away, realize too late what has happened. They quickly put their quarrel aside and set out on a mission to rescue them. Meanwhile, in Doom's hidden lair, Reed and Sue find themselves bound and restrained, completely at the mercy of their old enemy. Doom looms over them, reveling in his apparent victory, jubilating that with the smarter half of the team already captured, his triumph is inevitable, and that the Fantastic Four's days of defiance are over. Yet even while trapped and unable to move, Reed and Sue tell him firmly that he's about to be proven wrong. As Johnny and Ben push into the lair, Doom has already prepared a gauntlet of traps to exploit their constant bickering, expecting them to crumble under pressure. Surprisingly, though they argue and throw insults the entire way through, the two still manage to stumble their way past most of Doom's tricks. Their chaotic teamwork somehow works until Johnny is finally caught and thrown into captivity with Reed and Sue. Notwithstanding, Ben solos his way up and confronts Doom, who then uses Doombot as a last resort to take down Ben. Having grown attached to the bot after spending time with it, Ben treats it like an old buddy and tries to talk it down, throwing out cheesy pep talk lines like some second-rate Saturday morning cartoon hero. The robot smashes him around, tossing him across the lair and nearly taking him out, but Ben keeps pushing, appealing to the bond they shared, reminding it of the time they spent playing house. Against all odds, his words start to break through. The Doombot hesitates, and Doom realizes with horror that he's losing control again. Enraged, he activates the robot's built-in self-destruct sequence and locks the Fantastic Four inside with it, launching the chamber into the sky, so they'll be obliterated together. But in a final moment of loyalty, the Doombot turns against its master. It says a brief goodbye to the team, breaks them out of the chamber, and throws itself back toward Doom's lair, exploding on impact in a massive blast that destroys a large portion of Doom's base. In the aftermath, the heroes escape, and Reed reflects on the strange complexity of the machine, noting that it wasn't just another one of Doom's weapons. Suddenly, it is revealed that the Doombot had secretly uploaded its consciousness into another device before the explosion, leaving its survival ambiguous. Johnny and Ben immediately fall back into their rivalry, picking fights and throwing jabs as if nothing ever happened. One day in New York City, the Fantastic Four notice a strange red energy beam aimed directly at Earth. Reed immediately identifies it as something unnatural, so the team wastes no time blasting into space to investigate. Once they're in orbit, Reed picks up unusual readings and deciphers that someone has literally written the word mine across Earth's atmosphere as a territorial claim. While they're still wrapping their heads around that, A massive surge of energy whips past them at incredible speed. Even with all their tech, they can't keep up, and by the time they head back to Earth, the source of the signal has already arrived. On the surface, they see the cause of the chaos, which is a gigantic armored figure introducing itself as Terminus. It doesn't look remotely friendly, and after a few words, it makes its mission clear. It's basically an intergalactic scavenger hunter, here to strip Earth of every resource worth taking. Johnny and Sue try to reason with it, hoping they can avoid a citywide disaster, but Terminus isn't interested in talking. It grows even more aggressive, causing massive shockwaves of destruction around the city. Reed immediately starts analyzing Terminus, trying to work out a scientific countermeasure. Meanwhile, Johnny takes a risk to buy them some time as he strikes up a conversation with the robot. Luckily, he manages to convince it that it landed on the wrong side of the city, saying there's way more treasure and valuables waiting somewhere else. Surprisingly, the towering scavenger believes him, though it warns Johnny that if it finds out he's lying, it won't end well for him. With that, Terminus begins following Johnny through the city, smashing through blocks of buildings and streets like they're paper, completely focused on reaching this better treasure. As Johnny scrambles to keep Terminus occupied, he radios Reed and tells him to hurry up with whatever plan he's working on. Reed reassures him that he's doing fine, and that the distraction is exactly what the team needs right now. Along the way, Sue and Ben try to intercept the robot and slow it down. They hit it with a massive surge of electricity, but the attack barely registers. Then they team up again, using Sue's invisibility field to secretly grab Terminus's massive staff and hurl it into the ocean. For a second, it seems like they might have scored a win, but Terminus easily summons it back on some nonchalant Thor shit. At this point, Johnny is running out of ideas, and Terminus is already starting to get suspicious that there's no treasure waiting for it. Right before things collapse, Reed shows up with a new strategy. He straps anti-gravity devices to Terminus's body, and for a moment, it looks like they've solved the problem as the robot lifts off the Earth's surface and drifts away. The team almost celebrates then and there, but the relief is short-lived as the scavenger hunter slams back down. This time even angrier. Without hesitation, Terminus plants its staff into the ground, triggering shockwaves that tear through the city. Worse, the staff starts siphoning Earth's natural resources, draining energy and minerals straight out of the soil, and causing a huge fire tornado. The destruction spreads fast, forcing Sue to throw up a massive barrier around the team and their ship just to keep them alive. While holding the shield, she casually starts chatting with the others about the Tom Holland incident and whether we'll ever get the next Spider-Man movie, and everyone except Reed joins the banter. Reed can't believe they're joking while the planet is seconds away from annihilation, but the others remind him why they're calm because he's never let them down before. They trust that he'll figure out a way to stop Terminus just like he always does. Encouraged by their faith, the team springs back into action, charging into the big pike if Junk sent together, and they manage to knock the massive robot to the ground. For a moment, it looks like brute force might work, but Terminus keeps getting back up no matter how hard they hit. Realizing they can't just overpower it, they decide to crack open the armor and see what's inside. When they finally rip open the shell, the truth shocks them as inside the towering machine is a small, hideous-looking alien who's so ugly it probably can't pull no alien baddies. It has been piloting the suit the whole time to hide its obvious insecurities. They try to capture it, but in desperation, the alien forces the armor to make one last massive attack. In the process, it miscalculates, and the suit ends up blasting a huge hole in the ground. The alien and the armor tumble straight into the pit they created. With Terminus defeated, the immediate threat is gone. The Fantastic Four regroup and watch as the alien disappears into the hole, likely never to return. As the team heads back home, Johnny and Ben can't resist going right back to their usual bickering, trading insults like nothing even happened. Thank you for sticking to the end of my video. Please do me the biggest favor by leaving a like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video.